We open this week again with Clearview AI, where more dirt should get them renamed to Dirty View. The New York Times found the Clearview app to be, quote, freely used in the wild by the company's investors, clients, and friends, in situations ranging from showing off at parties to identifying a man someone's daughter went to a date with. Carnival Partners founder David Scalzo told the paper his daughters use the app, quote, on themselves and their friends to see who they look like in the world, because it's fun. And actor Ashton Kutcher, now a venture capitalist, alluded to having access to a suspiciously similar app in September from a YouTube video in 2019. Just more evidence that this company is not operating in a fair and proper manner unless you have the money to pay up. Adding to the damage, some leaked emails show Clearview wanted all US mugshots from the last 15 years. I guess we'll have to wait till next week to see the next big news on Clearview AI. Manufacturing companies also got hit this week, first with Evraz, one of the world's largest steel manufacturers, who got hit with a ransomware attack. And then with Visser, a parts manufacturer that works with Tesla, SpaceX, Boeing, Lockheed Martin, and many others. This was also a ransomware and included some stolen proprietary data, so there actually is some more loss there. Now for the rest of the companies, GoodRx, which offers coupons for medications, sometimes really good actually, $500 in this scenario in this article, was caught sharing user data with Facebook, Google, and more. They are now planning to stop this practice as well as switching some things up within the company and for their customers. Contact information like names, emails, home addresses, and phone numbers for 1 million Virgin Mobile users was left in an insecure database and was accessed by at least one person who was not from Virgin. The next piece of news is about Amazon's Ring, and really shouldn't be a surprise. It's just confirmation that Ring records every motion detected by Ring doorbells, stores the timestamps, every interaction users have with the app, as well as data collection on pretty much every event. So yes, that is all confirmed. Don't touch Ring if you want privacy. In Utah, a company called Banjuzi is taking surveillance to the next level. Utah has given them real-time access to state traffic cameras, CCTV, and, quote, public safety cameras, location data for state-owned vehicles, and other sensitive data. Banjo is combining this data with information collected from social media, satellites, and other apps, and claims its algorithms detect anomalies in the real world. Very spooky stuff, giving pretty much all public surveillance to a private company and having them do what they want with it. Carnival Corp has revealed almost a year later that they suffered a data breach which involved a great deal of sensitive information, including social security numbers and other pieces of data on their cruise ships. But it's okay, because they're giving affected customers credit monitoring and identity protection software. That's one hell of a band-aid. This upcoming story has a very valuable lesson, and it is you have no control of your data when a company owns it. Ford has made a deal with Allstate, which allows them to have direct access to Ford data. This can happen with any company, especially during bankruptcy. Look at Radio Shack, for example. This story takes things to a new level, though, as supposedly most Ford and Lincoln models manufactured moving forward will contain embedded modems that will sync directly with Allstate's MileWise program. The saddest thing is no user opted into this or signed anything agreeing to this, and they are now forced into it. It's beyond sad how little regulation and control we have of our own data, but I guess who am I to judge, right? Let's Encrypt last week hit their 1 billionth certificate, and it may get to hit it again. Not really, but they discovered that there are 3 million certificates that suffered from a bug that requires affected users to renew them. So yes, if you're one of the people affected, make sure to renew your security certificate. IKEA has decided to pay customers in a campaign at their Dubai store based on the time they spent traveling to the stores. All you have to do is show IKEA checkout staff your Google Maps timeline, which proves how much time you've spent traveling to IKEA stores. Now, it's not clear how rich you'll get doing this, but I have a feeling you might be disappointed. Zynga, a creator of Words with Friends and Draw Something, has had a class action complaint against them because of a data breach affecting more than 172 million people. That's like half of the United States, which included names, email addresses, login IDs, phone numbers, hashed passwords, Facebook IDs, and of course more. The Home Office breached the GDPR 100 times in its handling of EU citizens' data in just 5 months. Luckily, the Home Office claimed it is getting better at data protection. Period. And to finish on a positive note, this is the only positive news on companies this week. Brave has announced fingerprinting randomization in the nightly version of its browser, which will likely find its way into the standard version of Brave relatively soon. This is a technique utilized by browsers like Bromite, and it's seen as an improvement over maintaining the same unique fingerprint on every site. So, good job, Brave. Research time. Researchers found an encryption flaw that allows relay attacks to happen on car keys, similar to that Tesla Model S attack that was performed. Luckily, Tesla fixed that, and the Model 3 hasn't had any issues so far, but many other manufacturers seem to suffer from this, and unfortunately they can't just push out a software update like Tesla can. This is another reminder that anything wireless is almost always less secure than something physical. A cybersecurity expert recently found a vulnerability in Facebook's Login with Facebook feature that allows hackers to steal access tokens, which can hijack someone's Facebook account. This also applies to third-party apps as well, like Tinder, Oculus, Spotify, Instagram, Netflix, and more. Another reminder that you shouldn't be signing into services with Google, Facebook, or any other sign into with deal that there might be out there. You should always do email signups if you can, because there are lots of issues like these that have happened in the past. Intel's CSME bug is, according to newer research, even worse than previously thought. This vulnerability is impossible to detect, and a firmware patch only partially fixes the problem. The only way to actually prevent this issue is to go to Intel's warehouse and steal yourself a new 10th generation model, or just move over to the better dark side. But funny enough, there's actually a positive piece about this news, and it's that this bug can possibly be used by users on their computer to bypass DRM protections and access copyrighted protected content. And finally, a MediaTek rootkit has been affecting millions of Android devices for months, which affects a great deal of devices and is actively being exploited by hackers to gain root access to a device. There's been a patch for this since May of 2019, but as of today, dozens of OEMs still haven't fixed their devices, and Google is finally stepping in after a really long period of time of knowing about the issue and hoping, I guess, it wouldn't gain much publicity. So this seems to be a weird play from Google, as they normally are on top of security issues like this, but I guess, I don't know, even Amazon implemented a fix on their devices as soon as possible. Politics. US got the most news this week, starting with Kihu 360? I remember way back when I used to use that antivirus. They have accused the CIA of an 11-year-long hacking campaign targeting the Chinese airline industry, research organizations, internet companies, and government agencies to do things like track the travel itineraries of important figures. And unlike the US's accusations against Huawei, 360 has actually supplied evidence, which seems to reveal this is actually true. Not saying that the Huawei stuff isn't, but not giving evidence is like, what? Next up, a company called Wolfcom is pitching body cameras with live facial recognition to law enforcement around the US. They claim to have sold body cameras to at least 1,500 police departments, universities, and federal organizations around the country, and is now testing its new facial recognition with a select tester in beta, which is currently a little bit slower than real-time tracking. But still, it's only a matter of time before this will be implemented, so maybe it's time to move to a city where facial recognition is banned, like Oakland or San Francisco, or I know there's a couple others, so those, yeah. And lastly, in the US, a new lawsuit has been filed against ICE, saying its software used to recommend whether people arrested over immigration violations should be let go after 48 hours or detained is unconstitutional. The lawsuit alleges that this is an algorithmic rubber stamp that bypasses the due process and federal immigration law. We will see what happens. Well, it's pretty crazy to think that whether or not you're let go or held captive is based on whether the software deems you good or bad. So, weird ethical questions to think about. Australia also got a good spotlight this past week, as it's come out the Australian Signals Directorate has already spied on Australians in the last year through, quote, rare circumstances that required additional intelligence, sparking a lot of privacy concerns in the country. Things don't seem to be slowing down either, as the Australian Federal Police wants the power to be able to call in the ASD when it's hunting for cybercriminals, including those related to child abuse and terrorism, which lead back to Australian borders. Australia lately has been very creepily edging its way towards a pretty invasive surveillance state, so better for us to keep an eye on them and see what's going on there. The last international news comes from Singapore, who is planning on introducing a cybersecurity labeling scheme for home routers and smart home hubs as part of their effort to increase awareness about using insecure products. It also has the hope that this will push manufacturers to deploy better cybersecurity measures, and it will create a mandate for a set of minimum security requirements for home routers. This seems like a good idea with equally good intentions, but we'll need to see how effective it really is, and if it actually makes a difference. Time will tell. And finally, the misfit this week are all the ladies who are watching. Less than 10% of you on our channel, even less of which who are between 12 and 45, who, well, may need to track some feminine hygiene through a health app. But an investigative journalist has discovered 65 of these, including the Planned Parenthood spot-on period tracker shared private health data with Facebook. This data is likely used to serve advertisements and may even be sold to health companies, which raises the question of where is the regulation on health data? It's clear HIPAA just has completely outdated policies that don't take these kind of things into consideration. For those few watching, I do encourage you to move over to open source applications for your health. F-Droid seems to have at least this one decent one, but I haven't really tested its effectiveness for certain reasons. And that's it this week. This week was actually a lot less work than last week. Not much news, and yeah, not much exciting news either, so pretty boring this week. Either way, thank you for watching. Next week, I'm sure we'll get busier, or maybe it's not. We'll just have to see, right? You have to tune in next Friday to find out. Make sure to follow us on social media platforms. Join our Patreon if you like the content and you want to support us. Tip us with BAT if you want. We accept BAT. Yeah, that's it. Goodbye.